Hello and welcome to the Me and My Dad podcast episode. I don't even know. What episode is it?
5.
5? Is it 5 right enough?
Yep.
Producer extraordinaire, is it 5?
This is episode 5.
Jeez, that's mad. I feel like Jeremy Clarkson. This is a Top Gear special. This is a Me and My Dad special. We're joined with two special guests.
Like Jeremy Clarkson.
What?
You look like him too.
That makes you James May, you born bastard. You born...
At least he was thin.
Start as you mean to go on. This is a special episode today. We're joined by Martin Fegan.
Thank you.
And Gerard, who runs West Wellbeing in West Belfast, suicide awareness.
Gerard Mallon.
Do you think I don't know what I'm doing?
No, go on ahead. Go on.
Gerard Mallon. Give Gerard Mallon another cheer, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your knickers on. Lads, thank you very much for coming in and joining us.
No problem. You're welcome.
How are we doing?
All good, thanks.
That's a question. I suppose let's just get straight into it, right? That's a question that's thrown around a lot, isn't it?
How we doing?
How you doing? And people always go, I'm grand. Do people always mean it that way?
I think that's the easy answer, isn't it?
Isn't it? Mm-hmm. It really is. So we're going to touch a wee bit on mental health during this episode. Some of our own experiences. I'm going to be open as a book here. You're going to be open as a book too.
Yep. Absolutely.
You've went through some shit. I've went through some shit. Everyone, let's face it, has been through some shit. And we're just going to have an open conversation about it today on the podcast. It's so funny because last episode we said we're the last people you would probably want to listen to give advice.
I know.
Given the stories that he's told in the last few episodes, it's like, you're giving me advice on mental health.
No, but you hit the nail on the head there. You know, you go through crazy stuff in your life and you have a laugh. But I think it's an Irish thing too. You know, you'll be laughing 1 minute, and when that person walks away, reality sinks in, which is I've so much ahead of me, or I had to do this and I had to do that. You know yourself, Martin. You've met so many people that, you know, they're laughing with you 1 minute, and then you hear, just that person's not in a good place, you know, and it's frightening.
Very
to think
true.
you could be standing
Very
talking to
true,
somebody that's maybe contemplating something.
And do you know what we'll do, Martin? We'll start by asking you, tell us a wee bit about yourself and your background.
Yep, not a problem. I got involved in Darkness in the Light Hannistown back probably about 2018-19 before the pandemic came about, and I'm now on the organising committee for that event, which is this year's on the 11th of May.
Could they not get anybody else?
No, they were struggling for people actually. It was a case of votes, and
I couldn't do it.
I put two hands up and said, whatever you do.
You too, didn't it?
Cookies wasn't available, so you know.
Thank God.
You got the gig.
Whenever I
He's
applied
getting
for
the
it,
boot polish out.
whenever I applied for it, Declan, the answer was, look, we'll phone you, Marty, all right? And I was like, thanks very much, no problem. So the phone call came through anyway, blah, blah, blah. Got involved in the organising committee in 22 after lockdown and all that nonsense. And we all went through our own experiences from pre-lockdown, post-lockdown, and even lockdown itself. And it was interesting just to see, but I always remember 2009, I went my own the first year in 2018 to do the walk on my own, up at silly o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, up into Hannistown, and it was May, but it was absolutely Baltic, right? Freezing cold, standing there, gloves, hat, scarf and all on a Saturday morning at 2 o'clock, freezing. And I thought, you know, this is the thing. I went for, our family had been impacted by suicide, and I went to support my cousin. That's where I went in 2018. Then I went, 2019, went with my wife Tina, and I brought my daughter Grace, who was going from primary school to post-primary, and I thought there's a big transition coming for her here, so reality's going to kick in, going from our wee handy number, St. Anne's and the Murray down to St. Dominic's in the Falls.
Legends go there, I went there. Just
you know, that's where she was going.
Great
so
school.
we went 2019, and they were freezing. They were absolutely freezing. So into the clubhouse, and I'll never forget it. There was a family of about 20 people sitting in the corner, from that height to grannies, great grannies and everything, but they were all wearing a white t-shirt with a picture of a young girl who was probably 12 or 13 on the front of it with R.I.P. And that for me was just like, this isn't right. You know, that for me was an absolutely trigger point, so to speak, you know, about, right, I need to do something to help. Prior to that, I'd been doing a lot of running and raising money for things through running and whatnot. And then I thought, right, next year I'm going to do something for suicide awareness and Darkness in the Light myself. I was going to run, my whole plan was I'll run 500 kilometres over, you know, I'll do over 100 days, 5k a day, that's what I'll do. And then had my own personal experience. Had a heart attack in September 19 after that, and my whole life just went, into free fall. It was like, what the fuck's happening here? And the biggest thing about the heart attack, physically, I was dead on. I was 100%. Mentally, I was a basket case.
Yeah.
Whenever my wife and daughter went out of the house, I wouldn't lock the door. I wouldn't turn the cooker on. I sat waiting on somebody coming to the door, like, somebody going to call, phone going to ring or whatever. I'll just text somebody for company. And my mental health went from that. Went back to work in about 6-7 months' time, and we were straight into lockdown.
Yeah.
And I just plummeted then again. And it was like, right, a lot of bad coping mechanisms. Thought alcohol was your best friend. Sitting just drinking like a skinhead. And that wasn't the answer. Because see, the next day, the problem wasn't away.
Yeah.
It was magnified because you were
delaying
then feeling sorry for yourself again, and it's like anxiety through the roof, because alcohol is not the answer. You know what I mean? But we'll get through anyway. And then I saw in 2022, a friend of mine, Mickey Boyle from Lamderg, who's their health and wellbeing officer. He was doing 5K for 50 days walking.
Yep.
And I went, I'm doing that. And I jumped in at that point. Now, I was fortunate enough when we arrived, it was St. Patrick's Day 2022, arrived at Lamderg, and I saw this fella who I knew. It was Gerard Mulhern. He was there to help do this. And what Gerard Mulhern has done in terms of the walking group and whatnot is just, it's unbelievable, right? So his, 50 to 50 walking group, the work that we have done in that group, second to none. We've done a lot of work around darkness and the light, food stock for Paul Doherty in the crowd, cancer focus, the hospice, sepsis, yourself, Gerard, and well-being. The really, it's cross community, and there's that many come and go. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's a social element in the mental health side for the people that come and
I just said that, I remember having a conversation with Gerard about it and just said, this is about investing 1 hour of a 24-hour day in yourself. Get out, you meet somebody, you go for a walk for an hour, see everything that's been annoying you the rest of the day, it's all gone. It's all out of the road. You get a wee bit of touch of reality. Plus you're looking after yourself because you're going out walking. And it's free. Get out and do it and enjoy it. That's really, how I've got involved. So we did that 2 years in a row, the 5K for 50 days. And I was sitting about November time going, I need to do something different. That 5K for 50 days isn't really a challenge for me. The hardest part was getting the 1 hour a day. And then I just went, right, this time I'm going to walk from Pieta House headquarters in Tala in Dublin to Lavjarg in Hannistown over 5 days.
Jesus.
So that's the plan. First walk is 27th of April, Saturday 27th of April. We're going from Pieta headquarters to Croke Park to Balbriggan. Day 2 will be Balbriggan to Dundalk. Then we're going Dundalk to Newry. Newry to Craigavon, and then finally Craigavon to Hannistown.
Jesus.
And that's where we're going.
Isn't there a towpath from Craigavon?
There's a towpath that takes you from Craigavon right into Newry. It's the old Scarva Newry Canal.
But then is there not one from Craigavon right into Lisburn?
You can get right into Lisburn as well now. So that's really, we'll be walking from Tala into Croke Park, probably about 2.5 hours, but we'll be in Dublin city centre, really getting through the streets of Dublin. Then going from there out, we'll go the old road, the old Dublin road before they built the M1.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the R132 or whatever. We'll go that way and then
The Sweetie Road, as we used to call it.
I used to be able to buy fireworks on that road. Like, I remember that, getting illegal fireworks on that road for Halloween and all.
So basically,
when you say we, Martin, how many people are actually doing
at the minute, there's going to be people doing parts of it. There's people going to do the Saturday walk because they're working Monday, Tuesday.
100%.
There'll be people doing maybe Saturday and Sunday. But me and Mickey Boyle will be doing the full 5 days. Now, there's others are going to jump in with us, but they won't commit just at the minute because they have to make sure they can get it off. But we know for a fact that there'll always be more than just the two of us doing it.
Yeah.
And all we wanted, somebody wants to come along and do a bit of it, 5 mile of it, a mile of it, the company will always be welcome, because see, just having that somebody different to talk to on the walk, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, what day does it finish on?
Finishes on the Wednesday, the 1st of May.
Wednesday, the 1st of May.
Yeah.
At Lamderg.
At Lamderg.
And will there be, like, in your head, a time that you'll be there at?
We reckon we'll be coming into Lavjarg somewhere in between 3:30 and 5 o'clock at the latest. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
It all depends on the start time. If we get away on time, weather's another big factor here. That'll be another thing that's going to come into play. But we aim to be no later than 5 o'clock on the Wednesday evening.
Is there a place where people can follow along, like social media channel or?
Yeah, there's
like
a
a
darkness.
link?
There's a Darkness in the Light Facebook page.
Okay.
We're also going to set something up on Instagram. We're going to do, the whole social media. There's a team, an organising committee, and a couple of girls in the background are now looking how we can actually promote it better. There'll be the Pieta, actually their official, so there'll be loads of social media channels and whatnot. We're not going to set any just giving up yet because once people get Easter out of the way, then we'll do it for the 4 weeks.
100%.
Then,
Fair
just
play, yeah.
Easter out of the way, then we'll really push it.
Well,
in terms
give
of
us
there.
a shout whenever that's live. We'll be happy to share it in our channels
Yeah.
and my channels, and
100%.
obviously any support that they can get, it would be greatly appreciated. Even if you're watching or listening along here, if you could share it, it would go a long way too. I'm sure you'd be appreciated.
Yeah.
I
Any
couldn't
support.
see you walking 100 mile, but I could see you maybe doing it. The reason I was asking, even on that last day, would it be lovely if I could make it for that final bit and see
Absolutely, yeah.
them in? See them in, be nice.
I'd love that. Like,
Oh,
let me check my diary.
oh, I knew that was coming.
I know Mick's free, like, because
Well, as I said, anybody.
he's retired now.
Anybody
You're going
who
to meet
wants
them at prayers. And meet them at prayers.
Palestine Chapel.
He should do the entertainment for the end of it.
He's going to be doing DJ. He's going to be up there doing his Mr. Motivator.
Jesus, don't tell us
by
that.
that stage, we'll be, the what do you call it, the Ed Sheeran song, "My Legs Don't Work Like You Used to" before, because it'll be absolutely burning. You take the inspiration. I don't know. Sometimes people say, "Is there something wrong with your head?" Aye, but that's all right. I don't care. But I was watching the Kevin Sinfield documentary on the iPlayer the other night, and see what that guy did for his friend, Rob Burrow. That is, for me, is just unreal. And his line was, somebody asked him, "What keeps you going here, Kevin?" He says, "It's dead simple. I'll go back to the default position that I'm just a fella doing a bit of running for a mate with a few mates." And that, I just thought, there's humility at its best. And fair play to him. It was absolutely, watching that now, the subject matter, the motor neuron disease, that's, whenever you go back to the origins of Gerard Mulhern's 50 to 50 group, that was his first one, and that was for Anto.
Yeah, I'll finish.
Yeah.
And Gerard, like the money they raised in that one, and that was really the catalyst. And he had a choice. He got the juncture going, will I keep it going or will I stop? And he saw what it had done for people during lockdown. It gave people a focus. Got them out of the house. They were going to meet, social distancing.
Yeah.
They were walking the other side of the road, down the Alleytown Road, and the cops are driving up and down. Next minute, split. They're having to go, what household are you in? Oh, you'll do me. He's got me Uncle Mickey, that way. But the camaraderie in there, in that group, and the work that they have done, it is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's class. Really
Speaking of groups and hard work, we're going to talk to yourself, Gerard. You run, am I right in saying? West Wellbeing
Aye, co-founder.
Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Charity.
We started in 2019. We originally started as a sports and wellbeing forum for all the clubs in West Belfast.
I remember that actually because I was around at the start as well. Like when you were launching, I actually went to the open day and I was amazed by chatting to like loads of different people who were there, sharing stories and stuff like that. There, it started off football teams, but you actually seen yourself. The demand for it was so much more than. And it wasn't just West Belfast, by the way. You were reaching right across.
Well, basically, when we started as West Belfast Sports and Wellbeing Forum, the initial idea was to link in with as many clubs as we could in the west of the city. And I think what we tried to do was the pathway to get help and support wasn't there. At that, even back then, the waiting times were like 6 months to a year for people to get help and support. And we just thought if we were going to do something, we'll do it with the sports clubs because they have a much wider outreach, and then we could create a pathway for them to come and get that help through counselling. But we could be supporting the clubs with training and education. So kind of didn't work out that way. COVID came and then it took a back seat for a while, and I think in 2021 we got back together when everybody was allowed sort of out. I think it was April we started contacting clubs again, and there was a bit of uptake, but didn't really materialise. We opened up anyway, so didn't have a business plan, didn't have anything. Got out of COVID and we thought this needs to happen. We need our own space and we need to get people help and support because this is going to be insane. And Mick Conlon, the boxer, he lost a charity bet and phoned me up and says, "I've $2,000 here for you." So we started off with $2,000 in our account, and we ran a GoFundMe page, and the community was unbelievable. And we looked at the dairy farm, and very quickly, just through sport and connections that I had previously, that we linked in with CEW, Century Electrical Wholesale. So a friend of mine who I played against in the Sunday League was the manager. Send me an email, I'll get you the stuff free. They support all the electrical stuff. We got reduced rates in built materials, and then we had joiners, plasters, and electricians come in and give their time up every night after their day's work.
Yeah.
And built the place, literally built the place. And eventually we got opened on the 8th of November 2021. And that's when you were at the launch.
I remember that, yeah.
We had some groups and stuff in there. And we opened the first week. And I think the first 3 days, 2 people come through the door to wish us well. And then on the Thursday, I always remember a girl going in to get a cup of tea in the shack, and the shack saying posting her in because she had obviously looked in distress, and it was about one of her children, and she ended up in, and that was her first client that we were able to give help and support to. And then from there, just you ever hear crawl, walk, run? Never happened. We just had to put the running shoes on straight away.
Yeah.
We had the community groups, likes of youth centres, and in particular the school, Christ the Redeemer Primary School in Lagmore. When we done our first sort of couple of months of evaluation, it was like 70% of our clientele was from that school. It was all children and young people who had experienced deaths in the family through COVID, losing grannies, grandads. Sometimes there was one kid in particular who lost three or four people. So we literally after Christmas 2022, we just were constantly flat them up.
But do you not think that that's one of the unmeasured impacts of COVID? The mental fallout from it?
Totally. I always said, see COVID, I was blessed to be in the line of work I was in at the time of the radio, because I got to leave the house every day, go in, continue a routine. Because I know for a fact my own mental health would have been in bits if I had been in the house day in, day out.
Yeah, I was the complete opposite.
I actually it hits people differently. It's mad.
We got a dog first and foremost. Then the weather was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I was getting out and doing things like never. I was going out cycling and doing things, spending time at home with the kids and
it's funny you say the weather was brilliant. I can remember sitting out the back there and thinking, there's no planes in the sky. There has to be a reason.
There wasn't a noise.
Yeah, there wasn't a noise. It was beautiful sitting out the back. Now you had those lovely moments, and I know a cousin of mine packed his job in because of COVID, because he regained his family life.
Yeah.
He saw what he was missing,
and
he went, I'm 55. I don't need all that. Yes, it's money. I'm selling the wee bit of the business I have, and I'm taking back my own time, which was brilliant. But then I saw it, Gerard, through the eyes of my son, who's in the house there, who was leaving primary school. And you know, when you're leaving primary school, you talked about your daughter. That's a big thing for them. Yeah.
Wasn't me, by the way, leaving.
No,
Just
you've been re-registered once or twice.
It was a few years ago.
He went through. He was that COVID generation that didn't get the best year in your primary school is after Christmas when you've done your transfer test. You have 6 months with your teachers that you really get to know them.
Your school play, and your
school
shows,
off.
All that stuff.
You go away for a residential, your teachers take you canoeing, you go and play football, you're out doing sports things. You love life in those 6 months. Denied of it all. He left school, went into post-primary, and for the first 6 months, he wasn't in post-primary. So when he actually went in, it was like getting hit up the face. Yeah. And it's only now, he's fourth year now, it's only now I'm starting to see the impact that year had on him. Yeah. You know, he didn't get to enjoy what we all did at one stage. You know, at the time we probably thought this was terrible, but when you think back on your school days, they're fond memories. But he went through that, you know. It was like one day he was talking to his teacher, the next day never saw him again. Never saw his primary 7 teacher who took him nearly right through the school.
We me and my wife, we fostered 2 kids, and we didn't see them problems until normality resumed. And if obviously we utilised our services, because we have an arts psychotherapist, and we have child therapists and play therapists and stuff, so we utilised that. but also the school have a brilliant program. They have a wee butterfly project, and the kids that aren't emotionally ready to learn, they take them out of class and they go down and make pancakes to learn a different way, and then they integrate them back, and that was unbelievable. Before, it wasn't until about P3 that we got her settled. Like, see, trying to bring her into school, crying match, until about, I say P3. She thinks she missed P1, so P3 was the end of P3. She was starting to.
But on your point, Declan, there was a lot of positives as well.
Oh yeah.
You know, the weather was one. The weather was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, it was
was
outstanding.
absolutely fantastic. Sitting out the back on the laptop in a box, you know, make sure the sun didn't come down. And then we were in a meeting one afternoon, online Zoom meeting. You know, introduction to Zoom. Like, what? Right, let's do Zoom.
No one knew what Zoom
No,
was
Zoom-
before
Zoom-
that
nobody
whole.
knew.
You know what I mean? It's
All of a
mad.
sudden,
Like,
everybody knew Zoom.
was on
They were
Zoom.
we had Night of the Races on Zoom.
Quizzes.
Big Pat Cavanagh, Lee Carroll, Sean, Les, all the boys. Friday night, right? This is no word of a lie. Friday night, we say, right, lads, it's time to get together. We need a wee bit of a bonding session. We're going to do a night at the races. So we got it all organised. We got it off YouTube. All good. And I remember Tina and Grace come in, and I was sitting, I had a shirt and all on. He goes, where are you going? I said, no.
with shorts on.
I'm going on the Zoom. And our Grace turned around and says, you've aftershave and all on. Like, doesn't matter. This is like a big night out for me. And we were on the Zoom, right? And the crack was 90. Now, Lee Carroll's not the sharpest tool in the box, right? I know him well, right? He's not the sharpest tool in the box. So there was a standing joke. He was running the night at the races. Technical problem, right? And it's like, fuck, this isn't going to work. And next minute, his eldest daughter, Darcy, right? So there was a standing joke. Darcy! He just said her.
Straight away.
Technical problem, right, lads? Way get yourselves a beer. It might take a wee minute or two. But we would have had that maybe once a month.
Brilliant.
You know, during lockdown. And the crack was 90. Everybody threw a tenner in and whatever. And you had the races, played them divvies out, and all the boys were there. And the crack was 90. And, no, we were doing things we'd never done in our lives.
Yeah.
So there were positives, loads of positives. But, you know, there was that impact of people. We were fortunate, right, because you had somebody in the house. We had a back garden. There was people who were maybe living on their own, no garden, having to, you know, 100%. They didn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And we were actually talking about this the other day. Me and Mickey Boy were out walking, and we were started at Brook Activity Centre and finished at Brook, and we're walking past the flats, and we're actually just talking about lockdown. And he said, could you imagine having a family in that during lockdown? You know,
Right
so
on.
there are loads of positives out of it, you know, but as we said, it's the people who didn't come out of it as well as we did.
Yeah.
And we all struggled in our own wee way, and it was how you actually cope. You know, it's the resilience you have built into you.
Yeah.
And I found, you know, I enjoyed it. There was parts of it really, really good. We used to do a quiz every Sunday night. Family from England, everybody all jumping in. And the crack on it was 90.
Like, I suppose you think of it that way, when the world's going by at 100 mile an hour, you never really did take the time before COVID to sit and do those things with your family, or to do,
Exactly.
you know,
And
those
I
things with
actually-
your friends even as well.
Yeah.
I still this day saying we were given an opportunity, 13th of March 2020, to hit the reset button.
You know, I never really thought about it that way, but that's 100%, because ironically, my child came out of his confirmation, and the last words the priest said was, just to let you know, we've been told we're going into lockdown. So when you get out to the car park, the cup of tea that was organised for everybody, I'm sorry, everything has to be cancelled. If you can get into your cars and say cheerio from the... And that was that day. Yeah. And you went...
It was scary at the time, when you hear lockdown and, you know...
Oh, the children were going, yeah, we're out of school. But I tell you what, see, after about 3 months, my wee girl was going, I miss my friends.
Yeah.
You know?
And that was the hard part for them, you know. But there was ways around that, you know. You might go and sit in such and such's garden, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you were able to work around. All right, I'd run you over. You can stay there for a couple of hours. Ring me, I'd come back and get you. Can't have the pace and I seeing you out in the road with somebody else. So it was all this. But as I said, you know, it's like everything else. You can always look at it. It was a moment in time. You know, my whole thing was things will get better. You know, and you just have to look at it. We can all you can lie down. I've always been through life looking at two options. One, you can lie down and feel sorry for yourself. Or two, you can take it on the chin, get up and say, all right, let's make the best of this situation.
Yeah.
And it is only a moment in time, and that's the whole thing around, you know, the suicide awareness and, you know, the actual thing. No matter how bad a situation is at a given moment, it will improve.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing, realistically, there's very, very little in this world that can't be fixed. You know, a lot of people get themselves into drugs, finance problems, and all. That can all be sorted. There's support networks out there to help you through
but
that.
when you're in those
Oh,
depths
here,
of
exactly.
despair,
You don't
it's the
see that.
last
You're not thinking straight.
100%.
You know, and that's the sad part. It's making sure that those people who think there is no alternative, there's loads. There is hope out there.
Well,
and you know, this is why Gerard does what he does. But
yeah.
I'm doing what I
This is
do.
the thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have the government on, and people are going, look, there's loads of advertisements. If you're feeling low, or reach out and speak to somebody, go and get the help and support. And when they reach out to go and get this help and support, there's a year's waiting list in an organisation. There's no funding to provide that, and it always falls on community groups.
Absolutely.
It always falls on
You're
community groups.
100% right, Gerard. That's what I was going to say, you know, because you even see it in doctors' waiting lists and all these things. And people, there's no point. But there is a point, you know, the person sitting beside you does want to know. You know, they're not, you know, if you reach out to somebody, there's very few people will turn their back and go, you know,
100%.
You know, they do want to know and they will help you. And don't think you're lonely.
But I
Never
just-
think you're lonely.
I just think
Because you aren't.
Yeah.
Even there, if you were feeling lonely, right, and you decided, I'm going to go round for a pint.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody sitting at the bar, probably
You can have a
lonely
yarn
as well.
with or a chat.
And yeah, have a yarn. You can talk about anything. You know, if you're into sport, there's loads to talk
Exactly
about.
what we're doing now. You know what I mean? Like just
What happened to us in Bulgaria? We walked in for a quiet pint.
fucking
On our first night, which was his,
half 4 in the morning.
half
We're
4
back
in the morning, and that was your last night, and
Now
we
you're
just,
telling tales. Tina's going to be watching this.
it's all right, your daughter was with you. Your daughter was with you. And we just reconnected, Martin, and
Here, 100%.
we played football with one another and against one another, like ourselves,
And do
Gerard,
you know what? We spoke briefly
I'm
about
much younger than you, McGinn.
We are.
we
You were on after the ball. Here, mister.
we spoke briefly about this in Bulgaria. I remember saying to you, Marty, as well. 2020 started off horrendously for me.
Yeah.
Horrendously for me. And Mark, who's our producer in the background, you'll know why as well. Something happened that really affected me.
Yeah.
Really affected me. And I'm actually so surprised how much it affected me. And only I met you in 2021, Gerard, as we were saying there, I'd have been coming through your door. I would have been.
Yeah.
And it was Stephen Clements, who we all know so well. I'm actually getting emotional talking about it now. That guy was honestly one of the reasons why I wanted to go into radio.
Yeah.
He was just class.
Well, Stephen Clements was one of those people he was part of our school run life,
Yes.
right? And we, you know, Grace's friend Charlotte and her wee sister Molly, or big sister Molly, I picked them up. So there was 3 going to St Dominic's in the school run. And I always remember Stephen Clements Q Radio was on the line, and that morning you just sensed, you know, it was starting just come out about what had happened. And I remember that I was near in tears because the girls were all in tears. They were devastated. Yeah. You know, and I'd met Stephen Clements at an event for Lisburn City Council the year before up in Le Mans. And a lovely fella. And I said, my daughter, #1 fan. And see, the next day in the car, he played a request for her. You know, and I just thought, there's a fella there who's probably been asked by 100 people that night. 100%. He's a true people's people, you know, that way. And it was brilliant. And then that was one of those moments, couldn't believe it. You know, his kids, he talked about his kids, you know, Robbie and Poppy, wasn't it? And he talked about them passionately. And you see, the question then, I got home and I get angry. Then I go, why? Yeah. Why? You know, the only person who has the answer to that can't give you it.
This is what affected me so much. And I remember I was on air the day that it did happen. I remember 1 o'clock, I just found out the news before I had to go on to a show. And the news hadn't actually publicly broken until 1:30.
Yep.
And I started at 1. And I never forget, the first song was like something like Black Eyed Peas. And it was like a real upbeat one. I was like, I'm changing all the music. I just went into autopilot and started changing the songs. And texts started coming in being like, why aren't you talking? Why is all the music sad? And then the news came out. And I remember having to go back on and talk on the radio about it. And it was, I don't know how, but adrenaline just got me through the show. And then I just went home and I just remember absolutely sobbing my heart out, like just breaking down.
Yeah.
It did.
And it's because I modelled myself on him so much. And then, you know, you see someone like that and you don't know they're struggling. It's just...
The first, you know, that was your experience there, you know, and I always remember really, whenever we were growing up, Maggie, right? suicide wasn't really a thing.
No.
It wasn't. You know, we were.
Or was it hidden?
You
Because
know,
years ago, Catholic Church wouldn't have buried you.
exactly.
No,
Yeah,
no,
having
He
yeah.
committed suicide when it was a crime.
So you
It
looked
was
at that,
always hush hush.
and we come through the troubles and all whatnot right through up to '96, whatever it was, and then I always remember sort of my first real experience closely of it, and me and Big Pat Kavanagh, we were taking Stranmillis at the time, and we had been away end of season trip. We had won a cup, got promotion, the reserves won a league, and it was brilliant. It was the best season we had. Crack was 90, and the camaraderie about the club, it was brilliant. Oh, everybody was there for each other. You know yourself, you're playing a football team. People, you know, they really do thrive on success and whatnot. And we went away to Newcastle upon time for the end of season trip. And we'll come back, and it was the start of June. Actually, it was the May Day bank holiday, and we come back on the Monday. And on the Friday, I was driving home in the car, and I got a phone call from a fella. And it started with those words, "Did you hear?" And see, when those three words, you go, this is either somebody's won money or somebody's dead. You know, it's a Belfast thing. You know, did you hear? And it's like, oh, and he told me that one of the younger lads in the squad, had died by suicide that morning, and I was on the motorway. I swear to God, I had to pull. I couldn't. And you know, so I'm see. For a long time after, I beat myself up and said, "Did I miss something? Did I miss something?" Then I realised everybody missed something. Yeah. But I'll always remember what the priest said at that wee lad's funeral, and it has stuck with me now. And that's we're going back to 2006, 18 years, and his exact words were: he looked around the congregation, and he said, "Let me tell you all here now. All I see in here is young faces and sad faces." He says, "Suicide is a permanent outcome to a temporary problem. Don't ever forget that." He says, I do not want to see another one of yous coming over this door for the same thing that's happened. And God bless that young lad in that coffin.
Yeah.
And, you know, that still sticks with me, those words. And it was like, because he was quite firm about it all, you know.
Yeah.
And he was right. Because there is nothing that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
And that's the message that if anybody's watching this and they take away from it, just please, there's always somebody there for you. Don't think you're on your own, no matter how dark down the hole you are. Just put your hand up and somebody will pull it.
It's absolutely great. I have a friend who, I'll not name just in case he doesn't want me to, because I haven't asked him or anything yet, but his sister took her own life years. We were in primary school, and she hung herself. And I remember going through, and this was my best mate in primary school, going through the book we were reading and scribbling out any word that said hang or any word, you know, associated just so it wouldn't trigger him. Yeah. But that was the innocence of me as a child doing that, going and protecting my mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's something, you know, you talked about the priest. I remember being at a funeral and the priest saying, and that song that's played at every young person, that, you know, Forever Young, was played, and he said at the end of it, he says, look, I don't mean to fall out with anybody here, but you're not forever young. You're not forever young. You're here for a moment. And they're precious. And all you young people sitting there, don't think you're going to be forever young. Please get to being old. Get to being old and enjoy your life. And I thought, you know what? He's 100%. He's hit the nail on the head there, because that song is so prevalent when somebody takes their life. And he was going, oh, come on. There's so much more to give. Look, you know.
Absolutely.
But the thing, you know, the forever young bit, you know, that sort of creates a perception that it's young, it's just young. It's not. It's not exclusive.
No.
You know, it's definitely not exclusive, you know, and the whole thing for me is you look and you try to understand, you know, coming from my job, my background, I always look at root cause. What is the root cause of the problem here? Yeah. And you nailed it there as well, Gerard. People waiting to get 100%. Access to services that are not needed next week, the week after. They're needed now, today, in this hour.
They don't make people with a broken arm wait 6-7 weeks. It has to be reset there and then, or it has to be operated on there and then it's done. So what's the difference?
That's the key about it, you know. And you know, I don't know whether you agree or disagree, but I find social media is a curse, right? Because people have this tendency of, you know, living their lives through social media, showing, oh, look what I have on Christmas Day for all my kids, and look what they're doing, and look where we are, we're here, we're there. And I always say to our guests and whatnot, I say, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. You know, do not compare. See what we have. What we have is what we have.
See that? Oh my God, I'm taking that. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
It is.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Because people are sitting there on Christmas morning Their parents have went and done, you know, whatever they've
Done their best.
Done their
they've
best,
done their
yeah.
best. And they can't do any more than that, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, somebody's sitting there, and they might have got something right there, maybe got a North Face or all this corrupt. See that Brandon shite? But anyway, you know, don't start me in that one.
But at the same time too,
We're creating that.
You
This is
probably-
just proof
you
that
probably
this is
went through it.
pre-Mark's buying
You
this lads, by the way. Just saying.
You can't have it.
you probably been through that when you're a kid yourself,
Oh, aye.
but it's not until later in life that you go,
It's
Jesus,
magnified.
what my man and dad went through.
I remember,
Yeah, I know.
you know, you just see what you got. Like there was 5 kids in our house, and everybody had a slot on the sofa. And thankfully, I was the only fella, else I'd have got a Barbie. And maybe you did.
What's wrong with that? Now we're going to embrace that.
You know, you would think,
See
you
his
know,
Ken in his pink shirt.
yeah, here, he was just back from the Oscars.
Two for one deal. 2 for 1 deal in Barbies and Leisure World. Marty's getting the Barbie this year.
Take it and think good of it.
But you know what it hit me? Not the labour on the whole thing, but it hit me. When you see an international, to me, he was one of the most talented people ever in the world.
I know
As
you're
an
gonna talk
actor, as a performer.
I know who you're going to
As
say.
I just thought this guy was amazing. And next thing, depression.
Yeah.
How can he have depression? He has made me laugh when I was no age. Robin Williams.
Yeah.
To me, Robin Williams was just a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, from Good Morning Vietnam, the Morgan
Everything,
Mindy, the what he done. And then all of a
Patch
sudden-
Adams was a good film.
Patch Adams, yeah.
And
he-
he
he's
goes
Doubtfire
overseas.
as well.
But whenever you look at that, you know, the ad years ago that the government did about mental health for fellas, and it was, you know, out with mates, having a few pints, having a laugh, and he walked into the bathroom and took the face off.
Yeah.
That's Robin Williams in a nutshell. Mike, the other person there close to you would have been Gary Speed.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right,
yeah.
another, you know, talented footballer, international captain, looked like he had the world at his feet.
Yeah.
Boom. And, you know,
Do you know what? Speaking of awareness, there was a great video. I think you shared it, and you shared it to me as well. It was fantastic. It was a video.
Norwich.
Yes, the
Yeah.
supporter.
yeah.
And there's this
Oh,
one
yeah,
guy
he's
sitting
on the
beside
scarf and all.
another guy.
You'd have never ever thought that was
Oh
going to
my
happen.
God.
No.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And it just
Yeah, it
shows our perception to
Yeah.
automatically assume the guy who's sitting there.
But they're also
Quietly
they're also
is
coming
the
out and
sufferer.
saying that males don't talk and encourage them. We have found that completely bullshit.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. When we first done our first like 700 hours of services in our community, 44% of that total were men, and the amount
That's
of
reassuring to hear, like,
young men that are coming in and using the services now is it's great to see, really good to see. But there's high numbers of young men and men in particular reaching out now to get help. What we're finding is that once they get into a secure environment and they feel comfortable, they just never shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
it's
don't.
important. The key thing there, Gerard, is
They
secure
let it all
environment
out, yeah.
where they feel they can do it. You know,
Yeah.
there was a whole, growing up, there was a whole thing, a man up, you fruit.
Absolutely.
You know, that man up, you were going, really? You know?
Yeah.
And even during lockdown, where do we network? And there was a couple of fellas in our group who would have lived on their own. Just would have popped them a message.
Just to
how,
check
how
in.
you getting on? Everything
Yeah.
all right? You know, how you doing?
Do you need
You know,
anything?
like, how you
What's the crack?
introduced today? You know, it's just,
How are
it's
you?
just
Yeah.
letting people know. A text message can mean the difference to somebody. It could be the only contact they have with somebody all week. You know, outside of their family circle. Where
So true.
They mightn't be too comfortable opening up or whatever, but you know, you always try to think that if somebody's in trouble, they'll come and they'll reach out to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I can help them.
I remember. And do you know what? Another golden thing about doing the radio over lockdown was you were talking to people who were living on their own
Yeah.
and who were, you know, lonely, and that was their friend.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they rang. Now, half the calls didn't get aired because they were telling you, you know, about it. But just, I always answered the phone and had a wee chat with someone.
Yeah.
Not now, wouldn't have put it out in the radio, but just would have had a chat, been like, how you coping? You all right? You dead on?
Absolutely.
You know, it's good weather at least.
Even Mark would have
Just to get a
experienced
chat to someone, Mark certainly would have.
that. Talking to people who you know you can't put on air because you don't know what they're going to say, but just to reassure them. And, you know, I experienced it myself. I told you that that radio station I was doing, the woman ringing me. God,
No,
love her,
no,
and
say it proudly.
well, yeah, no, she was
was the radio
phoning saying.
Michael Wilson on
Right.
Belfast 89 FM.
But
Loving the 60s and 70s.
the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've introduced the 80s, you know.
John's Creamy Station, I have to say.
But you know, you pick a call up on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, and it's a woman crying saying, would you play a song? Now, it wasn't part of your playlist,
Yeah.
but to her, and the song, you know, was Wandering Star, Leave Martin. Probably the worst song you've ever heard in your life.
Right.
It's all right, Lee's dead. Go arrest him. Along with Neville. Along with Neville.
Jump.
You need a wee tally score there. For seriously.
I need a bigger fucking garage. That's what I need.
We're now sponsored by Healy's.
100%. But here, you know, you play it and you go, oh, no
Healy's.
problem, I'll play it for you. You put it in, you play it, and the phone goes 5 minutes later and some woman sitting crying at 9:15 on a Saturday night saying, thank you so much. I can go to bed and think her husband had died during COVID. And I can go to bed now and think he sang it at every wedding. This song, it was a song her husband sang at family weddings. And you play it, and she phones you back and says, thank you very much. I'm going to bed now. You've made my night. And you go, what?
Would have been
Wow.
Marty's wife after he started drinking like a skinhead. She would have been phoning in looking songs. People.
Yeah, she wanted Engelbert Humperdinck, please release me. Let me go.
No reflection in skinheads. I met a lot of sober skinheads.
It's mad, the whole lockdown thing, because you went one or the other way. Like, you went into your fitness or you hit the bottle. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, my sister, right, and she was the only one out of us working during lockdown. She was working over in Tesco's in Knocknaconey, and there are other supermarkets available, right? And
You can say what you want. It's a podcast. Sweet.
she would have put in the group chat, anybody need anything? And the usual Shawnee, right? She would have came and left a case of Rock Short, our door, 2 bottles of Pinot Grigio, right? And that was it. And I said, what about food? Oh, we're all right, don't worry about that.
It's all right. We don't need to eat.
Don't worry about that.
She left the loaf. You think you left too much bread.
What are you doing with that milk and all that? So I'm not getting ahead immediately, you know, but that would have been her shopping list. And, you know, she was
So
brilliant.
your missus out the back with a rock show and you were sitting with a cheese board with Peter Gracey on the avenue.
I thought it was nice. I like the BC Niners, you know. Here. You know, oh God, well, there's such and such and all moving here. But no, but as I said, you know, these are just memories that you've brought along from lockdown. Trying to make a difficult situation good, the best you could make
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
And, you know, the most, as we said, the most important thing is, you know, what Gerard's doing in West Wellbeing is unbelievable.
Flawless.
You know,
Thank you, Martin.
absolutely. You know, the thing about it is, you're
That's the
making
nicest thing he's ever said to me in all the time I've known him.
Well, I remember asking you for the ball one day and you weren't giving it. That was every match, Gerard. Nah. There was always 2 balls in the pitch, right? You know, there was one for Gerard, one for the rest of us. You know, and that's the way Glen United. And, you know, the only thing about it was...
But if I give you the ball, then I had to go and chase the person that you lost it to.
Yeah.
So I had to do.
Exactly, because, you know, you were thinking ahead. You know, Gerard would have got on every week. You know, he'd first name the team sheet. Nothing to do with the fact his Uncle Johnny was the manager. Right? You know, we said... You know, but the crack we had as well there, you know, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But, you know, you look and you think about all, you know, West Wellbeing, suicide awareness. You know, people are in there making a difference in our community, trying their best to help people. Yeah. But it's important that the message gets out to the people who need the help where it is. You know, just, it's there. You know, Gerard, you said it, you know, these people are at that position that they're not thinking clearly.
Yeah.
You know, they're seeing no alternative. But there is an alternative. Yeah. There isn't, and the most important thing is ask for the help.
Yep.
You know?
And when you ask for the help, and you know this, Gerard, nobody's judged.
No.
You are not judged.
No.
So you're not that, you know, people are there to help you. And very often the person that's helping you has been in the position that you feel you're in at the minute.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is fantastic.
Well, we have that at the minute. So our services would kind of be, we've got our counselling strand, and then we have our befriending, and then obviously we're about to introduce our training and education. So the 2 girls we have in managing now are Elise and Roisin, and they're bringing that training element where we go out to corporates and we deliver, or we find funding streams and we deliver to community members to empower them. So we've got not recently, from the start, and without their help, we received a bit of funding from Glenwood Business Centre. So Glenwood's like a social enterprise, and they want to put the money back into the area. So give us a substantial amount, and it's allowed us to bring in an art psychotherapist for children and young people, a CYP counsellor, and our sort of befriending element. So we now have a befriending advocacy and outreach lead, Donald Nugent. And his job.
Donald Nugent, I know that name.
He used to do Let's Face It podcast. So had his own experiences, and he went on to
Was
help
Donald a
people.
classroom assistant before?
I don't know. I think he used to work up in HomeFit. He definitely did.
I definitely know that name from somewhere.
But it all
Sorry to
kicked
cut
off.
across,
He
sorry.
goes and he delivers workshops for the Gaelic, the GAA and stuff. But he applied for the job and he was a successful candidate. And some of the stuff that he's going to bring now, you can see it every day with people coming in to see him. So our befriending takes place off-site. It's just a cup of coffee, a listening ear, checking in, how are you? And that sort of element where we had people in getting counselling who needed other stuff done. And our counsellors were doing it, so we were paying like a counsellor rate for them as to help our clients. So counsellors counsel, and then all the other stuff's sent over to Donal, and he links in, whether it be help and support through. We link in a lot with a load of our community groups that we link in with, like Food Stock, Paul Doherty. So if we need electric gas or help and support with food, Paul's on the ball, but Donal coordinates all that. We've sent Marty, a good friend of ours, D. Bannon, he's the top man in TransLink, so we got a wee deal with him that they help us support anyone with like transport poverty, if you want to call it that there. So we would have had a few people who kind of take my counselling every second week because I can't afford to get here. So it was a case of removing that obstacles to make sure that they get in and get the help and support on a weekly basis.
Do you know what I have to say about Northern Ireland? We're a generous bunch of people, like.
Yeah.
Like there are some flawless people in Northern Ireland.
In particular, the West. I
agree.
Yeah.
See, if you go back in lockdown, if you look at St James's Swifts, the football team, I think they were the first ones that kind of done that kind of outreach work where they got in a load of stuff like bread and essentials and were delivering it to the vulnerable. They were the first, what I recall of, they were the first, and they extended their outreach to Sandy Row and Tigers Bay and the Shankill. Nobody was left behind, like
I was just listening to you earlier saying about people finishing a day's work and coming up to help with the headquarters for West Wellbeing, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's just real community spirit of
we
people
were
putting
there
together.
at 9, 10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Centre was in darkness and we were going out the back and round and out. But
Amazingly.
unbelievable, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it made people, lockdown made people think.
Yeah.
And it made people realise, do you know what? There's more to this flipping world
Yeah.
than fucking get out and sitting in a barn painting and what have you. You know, let's look around and look the others. It certainly made a difference. Because,
100%.
you know, you live the other end of the town, I live and we were keeping together through Zoom, as you say, and that's
Aye.
and then Christmas morning, you had to look through the window.
Yeah.
You think,
Yeah.
like, you had to look through the window.
It was always Mick popping up on FaceTime, with his chin here. Like, all right, Declan.
Yeah. You look through the window and your granny was a brave age then, and I just made the decision,
Yeah.
as most people had to do I stay away from her, do I go? And I kept going.
Yeah.
Even, I was working in the health thing, but I kept going, and it was her lifeline because she couldn't have coped.
Right.
On her own, yeah.
Needed that
Yeah.
contact.
So she needed that, and it was great, full mask and this, that, and the organ and whatever. But you get through it, and you move mountains to get where you are.
Yeah.
And I think the kids, your kids now, I know we live in this computer world where kids
Shocking
think,
for people.
It's
It was
not,
shocking.
it's not nice.
You're not sick,
Insta
but you may
scam
be
and fake
asymptomatic.
It's the scam and fake book. I call it.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Because of the job I'm in, I have to have it. It's one of those things like they sort of marry each other. But you're right. It is just the sort of, I need to filter my photograph because that's not reality on there. You know what I mean? Or I can't. Need to try and make myself look a bit slimmer. Or
Sure,
something,
the
but
Royals have said that's all right to do it. Like seriously, that's an absolute disgrace.
It's mad.
And I was just
looking at that.
comes and shows you what social media has done to
Has
society.
done to people, everybody.
They're in and analysing something to do with a wrist or something. You're going, you've too much time in your hands.
Exactly.
Really, is that like a real problem in today's world?
There was a photograph of it was. Do you know the one you're talking about of Kate and the kids and all? But there was someone had circled every, like they'd found the time to go study the photograph and circle every photoshopped or whatever element.
Yeah.
And there, yet again, comparison is a thief of joy. Because that's
Absolutely.
on their Mother's Day, and somebody's going to compare, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong. You're going, wise up.
Oh, his fingers crossed. And you're like, Jesus, it's Mother's Day, leave them alone. Well, I mean, it's mad, absolutely mad. But guys, it's been amazing having you in. Thank you so much. It's so nice to take a wee break from listening to him getting the shit stroked from a long tail shovel to actually talk about the serious
I was
stuff.
actually going to offer him bereavement counselling. There's that many, he talks about that many people that he knows
I
have
may be
died.
down in the next
Jesus,
few weeks.
He has to be affected, doesn't he? Maybe signpost him to cruise.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress disorder.
If I hear any more fucking stories from him, I'll be down knocking your door the next few weeks. I'm telling
As
you.
long as fucking Belfast Dave is there next year.
Belfast
I'll be
Dave,
flipping-
he'll be there.
Not saying God rest him, because you know you met the guy. So he did, yeah, here's one thing he doesn't know. I have to get this that.
Oh
and that.
Jesus, he's away to get
Hold
us.
on. Wait, that's
See, a sofa just popped up when he jumped up there. Jesus Christ, the room I have now.
Martin.
for
You remember? Get off the bus. Yeah. And it was you're my bell. You're my bell. Right? That was Dave. But Dave, because he watches all the podcasts, you don't have fucking one of these.
You're not in the camera, sit there.
You don't have one of them. That's the Davenish bell.
The bell end. Unreal. Folks, thank you so much. If you don't mind, we're going to pop a few links down below the podcast in the description box. If anyone has been affected or is affected, you know, by anything we've chatted about today and you feel like there's no way out or you do need to talk to somebody, just reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just reach out. You'll not be judged. It's the right thing to do as well. We've all been at a point in our life where we've just had to ask for help or ask for advice or talk to somebody, and it's important that you do.
Yeah.
Really
Big
is.
time.
Yeah.
Big time. And if you can't talk to a friend, talk to him, talk to me, talk to Gerard, talk to Martin. Anybody.
100%.
Anybody at all. Just talk to them.
Yeah. Even if you want to send us a wee message, slide into the DMs, to me and my dad DMs on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere you may be following us.
Yeah.
Slide into the DMs, send us a wee message, let us know you're doing okay. Thanks so much for watching and listening.
See if I get a DM from Neville, I'm fucking out of here.
I said you definitely will need them.
Gerard! Lads, thank you so much.
No problem. Pleasure, lads. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.